Good evening, I'm Brighton Supervisor Bill Maley, and I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight to the August 10th, 2016 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. As always, we welcome people attending our meetings, whether you're here in the room with us in person, whether you're watching us streaming on our live YouTube channel, or whether you're watching on cable channel 12 on your Time Warner cable system. Open government is something we take very seriously, and we appreciate everybody's participation in that process. I would note that if you're here in the room, we do have the agenda as well as all the supporting material for tonight's board meeting on the table in the back of the room. If you're watching us streaming on YouTube or on your TV, you can go to the town website, townofbrighton.org, and our agenda is there. Again, with all the same material that we have in the room and all the same material that the town board is going to be working from tonight. So we appreciate your participation in whatever form you may take. We'll be getting to the open forum in just a moment, and as always, we welcome questions or comments during the open forum, whether or not it relates to a matter that's on tonight's agenda. If you would like to participate in the open forum, but you're not here in the room, you can call 303-3060, and your call or your question or your comment will be relayed to me, and we'll address that. Again, 303-3060. And if you're deaf, we also welcome your participation through our TDD line, 784-5205. Again, our TDD line, 784-5205, if you would like to participate in our open forum. As always, we do look forward to hearing from you with questions or comments. We'll start the meeting with a pledge to the flag. I'm going to ask Board Member Chris Warner to lead us tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chris. We do occasionally experience technical difficulties with the live Time Warner cable feed. If the video or the audio goes out while you're watching this broadcast live, please contact Time Warner at 756-5000. That's 756-5000. In case of an emergency, you will hear the town hall emergency alarm activated. If you hear that go off, please leave the room immediately, either by the door to my right. If you go out that door, turn right, go down the stairs, and out the back door to Town Hall, right there at the bottom of the stairs, and move away from the building. Or through either of the double doors at the rear of this room, go through the lobby, out the front door of Town Hall, down the steps, and again, away from the building. We don't anticipate that, but forewarned is forearmed. We will now proceed with the open forum. As I mentioned, during the open forum period, members of the audience may address the board about any matter, whether or not it is on the agenda for action tonight. I will note that we have some public hearings tonight on some proposed stop sign installations, a local law for that, as well as a drainage district and a couple of refuse districts. If you are here to address the public hearing on any of those districts and you would like your comments to be recorded on the record of the hearing, please wait until the hearing is actually being held to give your comments for the record. Now, we've had public hearings going on at the last two meetings relating to the Whole Foods proposal on Monroe Avenue. As those of you that have been following that matter know, one of those hearings was the hearing on the draft environmental impact statement under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR. That hearing was closed, and we were accepting written comments through August 1st, and we received a number of those, and they are referenced tonight on the agenda. The hearing on the incentive zoning itself, under the town law, will continue at a future date. So there is not a public hearing on tonight's agenda relating to that proposed project. But obviously, we welcome anyone that would like to speak with us about that matter. We have received some communications relating to the project since August 1st, rather. Those comments, and we've tried to communicate with folks as they've come in, at least by email, that although they will not be included as part of the record of the hearing on the DEIS, they will be included in the record. They'll be received and filed as items of communication, and we will keep them and include them in the record of the incentive zoning hearing at such time as that hearing is reopened. So just in case people had questions about the Whole Foods project as it relates to tonight's public hearings. Now, for anybody that would like to speak during the open forum, please simply raise your hand. I will recognize you. If you would, please come to the forum, come to the podium, rather. If you would, please state your name and address. If you are representing anybody, please advise us of that fact. Please direct your comments to the board and not to other members of the audience. Please be courteous and try to keep your comments as concise as possible. As always, if you have written comments, we also welcome them to be included in the record of tonight's meeting as communication, and please provide those to the town clerk. So now we'll begin the open forum. Mr. Spitzer?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. It's nice to see you all again. My name is Daniel Spitzer of Hodson Russ. I'm here on behalf of Save Monroe Avenue. My address is 140 Pearl Street, Buffalo, New York. I'm here to thank the members of the board and the town as a whole for the effort they've made so far on the Whole Foods project and the review. The comments that the board members submitted demonstrate very clearly that this board takes very seriously the threat to the community that this proposal presents, and calls on the developer to consider alternatives in the range. As we move forward, I am particularly here to talk about correspondence that I sent to you after the close of the period, my August 8th letter, specifically asking you to formally consider an SEIS, a Supplemental Environmental Impact Statement. If you look at the comments from every commenter, including yourselves and the DOT and Stantec, and even this Daniele letter, clearly there is a need to start over with that traffic study. Indeed, the Daniele letter, as it outlines all the problems that they had trying to do a baseline study because of the construction, because of the wrong file, and now because of the June changes in the traffic signals and the timing. That alone gives you the legal basis for requiring an SEIS. It's new information that's obviously vital to what everybody has keyed in on as the key issue. We also want to reiterate the letter that we sent to you previously talking about a traffic day. We think the idea of a sort of public forum, an open forum, not necessarily on the record, but where Mr. Ferrante and the developer can present to the community without the problem of timing, where Stantec and Adam, who presented our information, can have a part of a community discussion, is really in the community's best interest. And to consider having such a day where we would have a traffic day to focus on this. We would prefer to have such a day after we have a real traffic study. As the DOT has said, we don't really have one yet. As Stantec has said, we don't really have one yet. As members of the board have said, we've got some issues that we need to look at. We look forward to working with you on those issues. But first and foremost, let's get an SEIS going, and let's have a traffic study so the community's all on the same page as to what the impacts may be. I thank you for allowing me to take the time tonight to speak to you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum?
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the Town Board. Robert Brenner with the law firm Nixon Peabody here on behalf of the Clover Street Allens Creek Neighborhood Association. As you might recall, I appeared before you at the seeker scoping session in connection with the Whole Foods development. At that time, we had particular concerns about traffic, and those concerns remain. And as Mr. Spitzer indicated, we agree with him. You guys have taken a hard look at the issues that we've been raising collectively over the past several months. There are indeed issues with the traffic report that has been submitted. There's weaknesses in the data that have been outlined by our consultant, McFarland Johnson. The DOT seems to concur with those weaknesses in the data. The town's own consultant, Stantec, concurs with those weaknesses. And we hereby request that you issue an require an SEIS for this project. And further, as Mr. Vogel indicated in his comments to the other members of the board, there should be an opportunity for public input on any additional traffic information that is submitted. That's why we need an SEIS. Merely addressing additional traffic information during the FEIS process would foreclose the public any opportunity to submit additional written comments to this board that we think are critical in your decision making should this application move forward. Indeed, we think it's a defect in the seeker process if an SEIS is not required based on all of the new information that's come to light since the original DEIS was submitted. One last thing I just wanted to note. There were several comments in the correspondence between the board members as well as the letters that came in before the close of the public comment period on August 1 that relate to the density of the proposed project. There seems to be a large concern, and we share in it, about the density of this project. We're concerned as to how the promise that the developers made to the association about the rear access points being closed, how that lines up with the density that's proposed. As Mr. DePonzio indicated in his comments, there's a severe concern that we have about those rear access points being closed with this density level dumping traffic onto Monroe Avenue. We're concerned that the developers or the town may force those access points to be open based on the traffic that's being dumped out onto Monroe Avenue based on the size of this project. With that being said, we'd request that you consider no longer moving forward with the incentive zoning application and requiring this application to be processed under the traditional zoning limits and bulk area requirements and density limits in the Town of Brighton Code. Thank you for the time and opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your comments. Would anyone else like to address the town board during the open forum? Yes, sir. Come on up.
I'm Ross Dennis from 116 Northumberland Road. And I have a letter that I made up today since I didn't realize that perhaps this was the forum for this. So at any rate, I'd like to read the letter to you, dated 8/10/16, to the Town of Brighton, Department of Public Works, from Ross Dennis, 116 Northumberland Road, Rochester, New York, 14618, 585-473-2759. Reference to proposed Newcrest Drainage District. Dear Public Works.
Excuse me, if you would like, that is one of the items. We do have a public hearing on, Jim, can you turn that off, please? We do have a public hearing scheduled on Newcrest tonight. So if you'd like that letter to be part of the record,
Yes.
if you just hold on for a moment, and we'll include that as part of the
Wait
record.
until later.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Is there anyone else that would like to address the town board during the open forum on any topic, whether or not it's on our agenda this evening? Hearing none, we will continue, and I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And can I have a motion to approve and file town board meeting minutes for the 2 July meetings, July 13 and July 27?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And before we move into the public hearings, I do just want to mention, The town board actually met this evening starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon, really, to conduct the first of our 2 annual budget workshops. Our budget workshops are not the budget hearing that is required under town law for approval of the budget, but it is an opportunity for each of our department heads and some of our sub-department senior staff to make presentations concerning their budget submissions to the town board. And we began that meeting at 4 o'clock, adjourned it at 6 o'clock, and we will be holding another budget workshop, similar format for various departments, a week from today, next Wednesday, also beginning at 4 o'clock. I'm not sure if it's in this room or the downstairs, meeting room downstairs. Thanks, Dan. That is a part of our public process for our budget development. We, as we've said for many years, we do go significantly above and beyond what state law requires in terms of the development of our budget. We have discussed our capital improvement plan, the 3-year capital improvement plan that we do each year as part of the budget development process. We've discussed that at 2 finance committee meetings at great length. All of those meetings, finance committee meetings, budget workshops, and maybe most importantly, the 2 budget hearings that we will be holding at our 2 October meetings are all open to the public. And supporting materials are or will be available online to help you participate in those meetings more effectively. So now we'll, and by the way, we will be taking action on that 3-year capital improvement plan at tonight's town board meeting. Now we'll move on, public hearings. I do want to note again, as I mentioned, that the DEIS public hearing on the proposed Whole Foods Plaza was closed at the town board meeting on July 13th. Written comments for the record were accepted through 5 p.m. on August 1st, and you have a list of communications that were received after that last town board meeting, but before 5 p.m. on August 1st. So can I have a motion to receive and file each of those items of communication for the record of the written comments on the public hearing on the proposed Whole Foods project?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Continuing with public hearings, we have a series of public hearings tonight. The first one is on a proposed local law for stop signs to be located at street intersections with Hillside. Find it here. Those are intersections with Edgemore, Claiborne, Monterey, Wilshire, and Palmerston roads. We are holding that public hearing tonight. We will be holding the public hearing open. There was a problem with the publication of the legal notice. So we will be holding this public hearing and the 3 district public hearings open and continuing them at our next meeting on August 24th. But is there anyone here tonight, and I hereby declare with that noted for the record, I hereby declare the public hearing on the stop signs on Hillside Avenue to be open. Is there anyone here tonight to speak to that proposed local law?
You should tell them it was brought up by somebody who lives in that area. And when you are on the side streets going into Hillside, there has been some near misses and there has been some concern about cars not fully stopping and allowing the traffic on Hillside to keep going. So that's what, one of the solutions would be to put these stop signs up.
Thanks, Louise, that's right. You know, as a matter of law, when you come, these will be the stop signs at the, you know, the T-type intersections. And whether or not a stop sign is there, drivers are supposed to stop at those T intersections on the dead end, if you will, side. Through traffic is not required to stop unless there's a stop sign. But whether or not there's a stop sign, traffic is supposed to stop. But frankly, as we all know, the reinforcement of having a stop sign there is what visually reminds motorists that they do need to stop there. So I certainly think, and Louise summarized it well, and I think it's a good idea to put those stop signs in to make sure and remind people. Hillside does get a fair amount of traffic. Part of it is on our bicycle boulevard, and we want to make sure that those intersections are as safe as possible.
And be aware that when there's a stop sign there, it really does mean stop, doesn't mean a rolling stop. And I know sometimes that's really hard when you don't see any cars coming, but if a policeman was there, he could ticket you, right?
There's a stop sign, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stop, don't roll.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on that matter? Hearing none, we will leave that public hearing open till 2 weeks from tonight, August 24th, again at 7 p.m. But
Louise, you did say that was also a topic of discussion at the Public Safety Committee meeting?
she didn't, but it was.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It was, and actually, the only thing that was said was that it was going to be brought to a public hearing tonight,
Yeah.
because we had talked about it previously.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Then I declare that public hearing to be adjourned. And we'll move on to the Newcrest Drainage District. And again, as I mentioned, in advance, we will be holding this public hearing open until next week, but I declare this public hearing to be open. And yes, sir, Mr. Dennis, come on up.
Start from the beginning.
Sure.
Okay. 8/10/16 to the town of Brighton, the Department of Public Works, from Ross W. Dennis, 116 Northumberland Road, Rochester, New York, 14618, 585-473-2759. Reference the proposed Newcrest Drainage District. Dear Public Works Department, it has come to my attention that the town of Brighton plans to install a 12-inch pipe on or near my property at 116 Northumberland Road. I believe only 4 out of the 10 neighbors will gain access to the pipe, while 6 neighbors will not have access to the drain pipe. At this time, the town's position is for the remaining 6 property owners to negotiate with the contractor the cost of an adapter, pipe, and installation. Please consider taking the lead in this matter, that there will be a cost of approximation of the following: $300 for a Y adapter, $30 for 10 feet of 7-inch lateral pipe. The installation cost to be covered by the town of Brighton, for a total cost to us $330 for just to have the adapter and access to that pipe. Hoping to hear from you within a couple of weeks with a solution to this matter. Without your help, this pipe will be a pipe to nowhere, plus additional taxes for the next 20 years to us. I thank you for your listening, and if you got any questions, I'm willing to try to answer anything, but
Thank you.
supposedly you folks have all the answers.
Well, We certainly don't always have all the answers, but thank you, Mr. Dennis, and I would encourage you, if you'd like, to submit that letter to the town clerk, and it will be included in the record of the hearing. And I'm going to ask our Commissioner of Public Works, Tim Keefe, if you could talk a little bit about the plans and the concerns that Mr. Dennis has raised.
I'd be glad to, Supervisor. It encompasses a total of 7 homes on Northumberland, 1 on Brooklawn, and 2 on Newcrest. And the pipe is planned to go along the common property lines between those properties. In the rear of the yard is probably the easiest description, and that is to pick up drainage that cannot otherwise find its way out of the backyards. The request to install, well, first of all, I'd like to clarify that this wouldn't be a cost to the town. This would be a cost to the district, and the residents would be picking up this cost as it is. Typically, any connections to be made to the system would be at the cost of the owner, not necessarily, the cost of the district themselves to make individual connections. All of those properties, I believe, would have access to the main pipe. One of the concerns, though, is that if we were to add what Mr. Dennis is requesting to the contract, it would only be within the easement area itself that could be done. But talking with town staff, that we would thereby exceed the comptroller's threshold for what's permissible. So if that is the case, then we would have to go through a much more elaborate process to have the district approved. I guess the fallback position that I think may work to everyone's advantage is that we do have a 20% contingency built into the cost, and if the bids come in for the work to be done, allow it, and it would in the costs, these additional costs would be under what was budgeted. That could be done as part of the project, but we would have to wait and see until the bids were opened.
Would that then require a district extension to include additional properties in the district? And maybe I should look down the other way down the table to ask that
Bill,
question, because I know you and Ken have
well, Bill, I
worked
don't
on
think we would be extending the district in any fashion. This district has been designed and developed based upon the collection area and what can be served by gravity. So the houses themselves would not necessarily, or the properties themselves would not necessarily have to be expanded upon. So I think it's really the crux is to provide a portion of the connections, and everyone may not want a connection, but I think Mr. Dennis's question is, can a portion of the connection be provided as part of the improvements that the town will let a contract for? And again, right now, no, unless we wanted to go out and have the petition re-signed, and it would exceed the comptroller's threshold. So then there's another different process we have to take.
And that's a cost per property
Cost per property.
threshold.
And we very well may be able to do this if the bids come in favorably, and we could do this as an addition or an alternate to the contract if it kept the cost under what was presented to the neighborhood.
Ken?
Well, I'd agree with most of that. If there were, basically you're talking about doing laterals onto the property, basically, as part of the district work, that would be a different, you'd have to do a whole new map and plan and redesign, recost the project, do new petitions. Yeah, I agree with all of that. I don't think it has to do with the amount of cost, though, because I don't think that the comptroller actually does set a per property price for drainage districts specifically. I don't think there's one established for drainage districts, but be that as it may, I agree that we would have to redo the entire work that we've done up to this point in time if that's what was going to happen. I think as currently designed, we can say that the work to be done benefits or potentially benefits all of the property in the district. And none of the properties that would be benefited with these improvements are left out of the district, so it's up to individual homeowners as to how they take advantage of this improvement. And that's how it was originally designed, presented to the public, or presented to the neighbors in that particular neighborhood when the petition was passed.
Well, I guess what I'd suggest is, we do have 2 weeks here. If you and Tim and, can spend a little further time chatting about this in light of Mr. Dennis's concern, and I know, Tim, you're always good about getting back to folks. Maybe you can then follow up with Mr. Dennis and give him an update following.
Happy to do that, sure.
Great, wonderful, thank you.
Will there be time then to consider this at the next Public Works meeting then?
Well, we wouldn't have a Public Works meeting within that time period. I'm not sure this is something that needs to go to the entire Public Works Committee, although it may be a conversation that needs to be had not only with Mr. Dennis, but some of the other folks that are in the neighborhood. I just don't know. And I'll leave that, again, to the two of you and your review of Mr. Dennis's request.
I would add, Bill, if it becomes too extensive of a process, we may miss the window for getting this filed for tax roll purposes.
We are
for next
tight
year as well.
on the...
I would agree with that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of the comment that this is a pipe to nowhere, my understanding is that this is a pipe that runs along the rear boundary lines.
Yeah.
It has drainage access points so that the water that should have been conveyed through a swale that is now gone because of development over many years, that will drain that water, and it doesn't go to nowhere. In fact, it goes out to the sewer system, which is out on the
Brooklawn.
Brooklawn.
Thank you.
Right, connects into the Brooklawn
But this
storm
is
sewer
just-
system.
But what's being presented here is an opportunity for the individual homeowners to have a Y put in, and then they could tie in their own downspouts and so forth, if they wish.
I think, or some pumps. It wouldn't prevent them from doing it. It just might make it a less expensive proposition for them.
So this would be the
So-
individual homeowner would have the opportunity, using their own funds, to further enhance their own properties by tying in. Given the opportunity.
And I'm doing this from memory. I don't have the map in front of me or the plans, but my recollection is that there's, I'll just say a number, because I don't remember the number, a number of collection drains along this pipe. So it's not like it's just an underground pipe with no way to have water get into the pipe. The collection grates, or whatever you want to call them, drains, I want to say 3 or 4.
Two proposed. Two proposed, and I certainly would, take exception to the fact that this is a pipe to nowhere. This is a pipe that picks up drainage that has nowhere to go. And looked at from all the comments that the residents in this area brought in, and going out there and physically surveying and taking observations, we have come up with a design that will assist draining the water out of the rear yards that typically has no other means of
And that was the identified problem,
Right,
to begin
it was.
with. And I think Mr. Dennis, if I understand, is suggesting that this system, which does drain to the Brooklawn line, may in fact be able to be used to serve an additional purpose. And
It could, though the positioning of the catch basins, Bill, any overland drainage, whether it's roof leaders that are discharged to the ground, or some pumps that would be discharged to the ground, drained to that, they should by gravity find their way into these collection basins.
Right.
So it's not necessary to connect to them, but if the homeowner has a preference to do so, that's certainly fine and permissible. It's ultimately a little cleaner way to do it. But again, I think this was really to alleviate the standing water that was identified by the residents as being problematic because there was no way to drain it.
Okay, good. Dagmar, yeah, come on. Come on up to the microphone, please.
We have discussed the
If you could please give your name and
Dagmar
address.
Langlois, 25 Newcrest Drive.
Thanks, Dagmar.
You want my phone number too?
No, that's all right.
All right. So we, during our meetings with our neighborhood group and all of these members here, we have discussed the different possibilities, and then we finally realized that we may really need more than 2 drains because there are more than 2 pockets where the water builds. And I spoke with Mike Guyan, and Mr. Dennis did also, and several of us expressed our own views on that. And he said that because originally there was an estimate for heavy-duty drainage, whatever they're called, basins, I guess, or whatever, that possibly that could be modified, and there could be plastic ones put in as instead, and there could be more of them. That's where we left off. We were requesting that there would be another drain put closer to the brook lawn, because there's a deep ditch there where a lot of that water accumulates, where it kind of starts. And of course, there was one to be in my yard. We asked that to be modified. We don't know where it is or where it's going to be. And then on the other end, there's another end where Mr. Dennis lives that too would have a separate problem because the surface in between is not even, nor is it sloped, or would it all flow into the one pipe. So if the pipe is, as Mr. Keefe said, a pipe to nowhere, in
No,
fact...
Mr. Keefe did not say that it's a pipe to nowhere.
If we don't have an actual drain to capture this water, it could indeed be just passing through.
Right. And that's another, Dagmar, that's another reason why that I would rather, if we had a little extra money or ability in the budget to put an extra drain in or 2, I would rather do that than be spending money on connections that not everyone would take advantage of, because even if it saves, as Mr. Dennis says, it saves $300 or $500 for the homeowner, you still will have the area outside of the easement to run to the house and put a collection system in for your sump pump or your roof leaders that may be 2 or 3 times that amount. And not every homeowner is going to want to do that because there's going to be probably a couple $1,000s worth of expenses. So along what you're saying is that if we had the leeway to put an extra drain or 2 in on the main pipe, that would be our preference, because we want to make sure we are able to capture all of that water and get it into the pipe so it gets conveyed to Brooklawn.
That was my
And I believe that could be done within the confines of what has now been proposed to the board, so long as the total estimated cost of the work does not exceed, I forget the number, but whatever the number is in the map and plan that was circulated. So yes, I think, you know, adding another drain or 2, if that can be done within the budget that was set, I don't think that makes us go back to square one at all. Okay. I think we can go forward.
Well, then that would eliminate some of the need for the individual neighbors to have the connecting
Perhaps.
pipes.
Well, let's...
Maybe not for everyone, but for most.
Commissioner Keefe and I will get together and we'll chat about that. We'll talk with Mr. Guy. We'll talk with Mr. Guyon as well, because he's really integral in this design.
Wanted to make sure that I mentioned it, that we have discussed it, and I thought we reached an agreement on that. And
I think in theory we do. I think that if we need to put extra in there and it can be done within the budget, that will certainly happen.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Dagmar. Appreciate it. Any other comments on the proposed Newcrest Drainage District? Yes, sir. Come on back up. If you can just come up to the microphone so the folks at home can...
The park topography.
If you could get right up to the microphone so they can hear you.
Dagmar's topography of her land and some near her are conducive to the water going to one spot or what have you. To the rest of us, that topography goes the other way. And so to have these drain thing put in near the property line or whatever, does nothing. I mean, for myself, I have an area 20-something feet by 20 feet where the land comes down like this. I didn't create it. It was done when they built the garage, the house, or what have you. I don't know. So I'd have to change the topography in order to get it to this thing that you're talking about, and it might even be on the other side of the fence. So all I ask is that the pipe to the adapter come onto my property by at least 3 feet so that I can gain access to it, to take the pipe to an area and then make that slope all go into the, the water sits there in the spring for weeks and weeks. And I can't grow a tree or anything there because they die from all the water. So that's, our situation might be a little different than her. I'm sure, as some of you know, all along the way, it's going to be a horrendous job. And I commend our Department of Public Works for even taking it on.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the proposed drainage district? Hearing none, again, we will reconvene this public hearing at our next meeting on August 24th, but I'll adjourn it for now. And we have 2 refuse districts. First is the proposed Dale Road East Refuse District. And again, we will hold this public hearing open until the 24th, but I hereby declare the public hearing on the proposed Dale Road East Refuse District to be open. Is there anyone here to address the board on that district at this time? We have a proposed map and other information about the district in the meeting packet. We've, of course, done refuse districts. We've talked about them over the years many times as a way to save neighborhood taxpayers money by, as a group, with the assistance of the town, contracting with a single refuse hauler, and the rates have been significantly less, $150 or so per year typically, in addition to having only one hauler on your street, and not having trash left out for different haulers on different nights. So there's a lot of advantages. We're pleased that the Dale Road East folks are asking to take advantage of that. If we have no comments, we will hold that public hearing open to our next meeting, and I'll declare it to be adjourned at this time. And the final proposed district is the proposed Colonial Village Road Refuse District. Again, this public hearing will be held open until August 24th, but I declare this public hearing to be open. Is there any person that would like to address the board on the proposed Colonial Village Road Refuse District at this time?
If you really want to get a thrill, it's the first time in years that I've gotten a letter from somebody that we pay that says your rates are going down this year. So it really is a miracle, because I know we paid, I believe, somewhere between what he said and $226 a year, and Ken was telling me he has about a third more, or more than that.
I think we're $80 a quarter at least. So.
Yeah. Well, in any event, it's pretty clear. These refuse districts do save taxpayers money.
Right.
So, is there anyone that would like to address the board on the proposed Colonial Village Road Refuse District? Hearing none, we'll adjourn that hearing until August 24th. Thank you. And that concludes all of our public hearings for tonight. We'll move on to bids. Louise.
Bids. Okay. I just turned my page. Wait a minute. In the matter of Regarding bids, I move that the authorization to solicit bids for mowing services for the balance of 2016. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion.
Supervisor, I had a brief chat with Commissioner Keefe before tonight's meeting, and I believe it would be staff's preference if the board would authorize not just the rebid for mowing services for the remainder of the 2016 season, but to allow the rebid of the entire contract, which would include the possibility of 3 one-year extensions beyond 2016.
I was going to ask about that because that was my understanding as well as.
So
to-
I have rewritten the resolution to simply add a phrase to authorize bidding, which would cover not just the 2016 mowing season, but also 3 one-year options to renew thereafter. And I can provide that to the clerk, so he has that for his records, and would ask whether the move-in, Ms. Navros, and
Louise and
seconder,
Jason.
Mr. DePonzio, would accept that.
I do too.
Okay, good. Then that change is accepted as a friendly amendment to the resolution. Thanks, Ken. Any further discussion?
What happens to the contractor? They bid this job and weren't able to fulfill it. Is there
That's correct.
any obligation on their part to work with the town? Or
If you'd like to discuss that, unfortunately, that's a matter that probably should be discussed in executive session if we're going to do that. I can tell you that there were discussions about how to handle the fact that they had failed to perform under the contract. But if we're going to,
we'll have to wait for another time.
okay.
Thank you.
Further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros? Councilmember DeBonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We have several items of communication. Can I have a motion to receive and file the communications?
So moved.
Second?
We have correspondence from Lawrence Hauk, Larry Hauk, Treasurer of the Brighton Fire District, with the year-end 2015 report for the Brighton Fire District. We have the correspondence that Mr. Spitzer referenced in his discussion. I don't know whether you all received that by email, but we did receive hard copy of that today, so if you have not read it, it will be available, and it's in the packet, as well as a couple of other letters relating to the proposed Whole Foods project. Any further discussion on any of those letters? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeBonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Committee reports. Community Services Committee. Chris?
Bill, the next Community Services Committee will be August 17 at 9:30 at the Recreation Department in Brookside School.
Thank you very much. Jason, Finance and Administrative Services.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, August 3rd. Each of the items that we discussed at that meeting will be discussed in further detail on tonight's agenda. And of note of those items was we continued our discussions regarding our 2017 through 2019 capital improvement plan. And that's also on our agenda, which is our roadmap as far as major capital expenditures over the next 3 years. And that's down on our agenda, will be discussed further this evening. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, August 17th at 8:30 in the morning. We meet in the Stage Conference Room, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Louise, Public Safety?
Public Safety met this past Tuesday at 8 in the morning. The interesting items were that the homecoming, I guess it was published as a different date than it really is. It's going to be on September 16th, and everybody in the town is welcome. Anybody's welcome. Networking, the Brighton Ambulance reported that their services were up 3% this past month. Brighton Fire has had 1,457 calls To date, Brighton DPW said that the leaf vector is here. You want to tell them what that is?
That's big news. Tim, if you would, yes. Go ahead.
Take the
No, go for it.
Well, it's been discussed the past few years, and we did have a efficiency study, and it does show somewhat a marginal improvement in leaf collection efficiency. And Bill, you know that you've been a strong advocate of this for a number of reasons, that we have purchased a leaf factor that will allow us to add that to our leaf collection forces. So hopefully that will help with leaf pickup efficiency and also our ability to turn around time. One of the things that the supervisor and I will be talking about is how best to implement this, because there will be a strategy, because this will not be effective in low-density areas, if you want to call it that. It'll be more effective in higher-density areas like neighborhoods in the 12 Corners, Central Brighton, maybe East Brighton as well, and some of the neighborhoods in West Brighton as well, too, where you can go down the street, you'll have a number of properties in more of a typical subdivision configuration, so you'll go property to property and pick the leaves up, as well as our other efforts that we do. Now, there's a safety aspect to it. I know Bill will start talking about no leaves in the streets. We're going to be very aggressive on that this year, you know, from what we found. But we also know that maybe this is a tool that we can use to be more frequent on turnaround on certain streets, particularly maybe neighborhoods without sidewalks. Where people do need to walk in the street if they're out walking. They don't have the luxury of sidewalks, and therefore with the leaves being in the streets, it's a very concerning safety problem. But this is about a $50,000 addition to our equipment, and we're going to give her a go this year.
It was also a piece of equipment that our Sustainability Oversight Committee very strongly has advocated for, and I appreciate their efforts in identifying ways to make Brighton a more sustainable community. And this, you know, in a sense, it's a good opportunity. We had the efficiency study that was done for us. This is an opportunity to give that, you know, a real world experience to confirm whether our actual experience with the equipment confirms it. You know, Tim talks about a vector. These are the, you'll see the suction, the vacuum type of leaf removal systems where there's a long, flexible hose that sucks up the leaves. And the newer models are more effective than they used to be on wet leaves, which traditionally were the bugaboo of these vacuum-based systems.
More reliable too. The early ones used to break down a lot more, Bill, because they're high maintenance. And I would just say, if people see this being used out in the town, keep your distance. Don't let your small dogs or pets get close to this kid.
Is it true that it's going to require an extra worker to be with that truck or whatever?
Well, it will necessitate a crew of its own, Louise. We're not going to have to staff up for this and add to our existing staff, but it will be certainly a separate operation from what we have now, because it will require the leaf factor, and the crew will consist of 2 trucks that will have special boxes on the back, because you're going to be blowing the leaves in there, so you have to be able to accommodate, you know, the leaf discharge and the volume of air that's coming in, so you have a special setup there. And then you will have, you know, the 2 truck drivers plus the person on the ground, and also one person probably blowing or raking leaves to the to the trunk.
But of course, there are multiple people currently on
Right.
leaf pickup crews.
Yep.
Okay. I'll go ahead and continue with
Continuing
your-
on.
Yeah.
Captain Klein told us that there were 2 vacancies in the police department, 2 officer vacancies, and they are interviewing. And did you have anything to add to that?
We may be talking to the
We'll be going into executive session when the meeting's over.
The Rochester Department stated they had 355 calls to date, and mutual aid and they had mutual aid together. And under old business, we had special events. Again, was mentioned the homecoming on the 16th of September, and it starts at 4 o'clock. Under the geothermal operations, Tim Keefe said that they are drafting an ordinance, going through the first draft now, and feedback by next meeting, next month. The stop signs we addressed here already. The public hearing was tonight. And the noise ordinance is being investigated. It's in progress. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, September 13th at 8 o'clock in the morning. The public is welcome.
Thanks, Louise. Jim, Public Works?
Yeah, Public Works met last week ago, yesterday, and from yesterday, and at that time we had a couple of matters that we discussed. One was the Susquehanna Northumberland Drainage District. Our town engineer, Mike Guyon, updated the committee regarding the status of the district and for review and approval, and pending our action tonight, that application can be made going forward. So, next item was under new business, a development proposal for the Sawgrass Drive Conservation Easement. BME, a technical consultant for the developer of Wegmans Companies, informed the committee of the need to modify an existing conservation easement on the site due to the requirements of the Monroe County Water Authority, and for installation of an RPZ associated with the project. The developer proposed situating a conservation easement approximately 4 times larger than the size of the RPZ and encroachment, immediately adjacent to the existing conservation easement, contiguous to the site. Now, having said that, it's quite a mouthful. We're going to ask the Commissioner of Public Works here to help, simplify what I just said.
I'd be glad to, Jim. As you are aware, the Water Authority and the Health Department have required for the better part of the last 25 years or so, reduced pressure zones, which means that there's a backflow preventer so that water that comes off of the public system can't be back siphoned into the public system from the private side. The building in question over on Sawgrass is set well off the dedicated main in Sawgrass Drive. So the Water Authority has required that the RPZ unit be installed relatively close to the public main, and that would put it in the conservation easement. The conservation easement itself was established, again, well over 25 years ago with the project when they came in. And we've had some of these types of modifications in the past relative to the need to modify the conservation easements. So all things being said, they are actually providing us more green space with this modification, and there's very little, I would say, discretion in being able to move this RPZ facility so that it wouldn't be in the conservation easement, because the conservation easement in this part of Sawgrass generally sort of rings the outside of the road. So we're not really losing anything in this. We're actually probably gaining a little, because they're putting in some their conservation easement will actually help with stormwater mitigation and some other things.
The one thing I will say, and we just briefly discussed, but I would ask that before we take action on this item, and I don't know whether that'll be at the next meeting, but that there be a discussion with Ken as to whether this modification, this release of a portion of the land subject to a conservation easement to the town is subject to a permissive referendum. I don't know, but Ken will. Ken will make sure.
All right.
Get that.
Okay, and our next committee meeting will be Tuesday, September 13th at 9 a.m. in the lower level community meeting room.
Thank you. New business, reading and approval of claims. Jason.
Yes, Bill, earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling
Adequate in some cases. I think that we should not hesitate to fund those, and I think that if we are unable to continue with the services that we provide, that's going to affect people more than another trail or something else that has a different effect for people. That's one of the concerns I have. The other concerns I have are if we have these wonderful lodges in our parks and they need work, I think that those should be done immediately because they are always being rented out. The people love having their events in those lodges, that if they need new windows or new doors, I don't think we should hesitate. And
Do you have any proposed amendments?
no, my proposals are that you fund these kind of things first.
Do you have any proposed amendments?
What do you mean by that?
Are you proposing an amendment to the CIP?
I am asking that we relook at some of these.
We spent
I know we spent
hours
a
in the
lot.
Finance Committee.
I know we did, and I know, and I wrote out down, you wanted to know what my concerns were, so I told you.
Okay.
Well, Louise, just a point of clarification so that the public understands, we're up against a rock, we're between a rock and a hard place. We have a 2% cap.
No, we have a 0.6%.
What? No, I'm saying, let me start.
Tax cap
We started with a
this year.
2% tax cap a few years ago. And the people in Albany have basically created this ceiling for us.
I know that.
And we're up against it. And so what we're having to discuss, and we're going to have a public hearing on this, but clearly the public needs to weigh in on this and understand our concerns that there are many things we'd like to do, but until this cap is we get a relief from that, there's very little we can do against the primary, what I think are the priorities. Maybe you and I disagree on that, but some of those priorities, you're almost robbing Peter to pay Paul on this, and that's where I see the...
And it's not, I think it's important to note, it's not just the tax cap. The tax cap is important, but we have a fiscal obligation to the residents of the town.
Clearly.
And it's a balancing act, and you're right, Louise. People do expect high levels of service. We provide a high level of service, and I'm confident that we will continue to do so. But we do have to establish some priorities. Now let's talk about some of the items that you are asking about. Trails. We have one trail project on our capital improvement plan for 2017, the 1 year we're going to be addressing here. It has no current budget impact on the town. We have made investments to support an 80% grant in partnership with the City of Rochester for a trail. I have seen the outpouring of support for the Brickyard Trail and the Sandra Frankel Nature Park right here across the street. People are tremendously excited by that trail, and I believe that the Highland Crossing Trail will also provide significant benefits to the community. That's part of quality of life as well. I don't disagree that maintaining our lodges is important. We made significant improvements this past year to the Town Park Lodge, the kitchen and the bathrooms. I had a conversation along with Jason this afternoon with Matt Beeman relating to the lodge and issues with the roof. Obviously it rained last night for the first time in a while. The repairs that were made to the roof earlier this year held, and he is comfortable that we can continue that the roof is in good shape to stay until we look at funding it potentially in 2018. We talked about the windows as well, and there are problems with the windows. The windows would be about a $10,000 item. The roof would be the rest of that. But for right now, I mean, the point, you're right. The lodge is very popular. And I think more so because of those improvements that have been made. Matt did not indicate that we've seen people not able or not willing to rent, the property because of the improvements. I'd like to make those improvements. And when it comes to trucks, we do. when our departments, and particularly Tim's department, have asked for trucks as a priority, we have approved them this year and in past years, but there are times when some of those trucks simply, we can only do so much and continue to maintain our credit rating, a level of bonds outstanding that's appropriate for a community of our size, and that again is a balancing act. I think, as we've talked about before, our priorities are the frontline trucks, and in particular the trucks that we use for snow plowing, for leaf pickup, for brush and lawn debris pickup, and we are replacing those trucks. In some cases, it's not the first year that they're being requested, but again, the goal was to stay as close to our maintaining the capital expenditures that we had last year, and we're not quite there. We may have to look hard at some further cuts as we go through the budget process. I just want to clarify one thing, Jim. We don't have there's no public hearing on the CIP. There will be the two public hearings on the budget itself.
Which includes capital expenditures.
Which improves capital expenditures for 2017.
But in terms of the multi-year plan, there is no public hearing.
Correct. Other than the fact that we discussed it for about 6 hours at two finance committee meetings that were open.
But if somebody has a different opinion than yours, you don't have to knock them down about it.
I'm
I
asking if you want to
disagree.
make an amendment.
I have tried, and you have said,
Louise?
this is what we're doing. What kind of an amendment? You've already decided what you want to do.
I'm asking if an amendment would be you proposing your idea as to how the budget, the
I
CIP
sent it in
should be
yesterday.
changed.
Did you read it?
Yes, I did. In
Okay,
fact, you know that I sent you an email, point by point,
Right.
commenting
Not
on.
commenting, downgrading what I had said.
If I may, if I may just suggest something
Sure.
here. So the process, and this is always open to any town board member, the process is, yes, the administration comes forward with a proposal, but it is up to each of you as town board members to have your own say. And if you wish to have a change, although there can be limited, you know my role on this, limited discussions between two members of the town board about a particular item. If you want to have a discussion with your fellow town board members and make a formal proposal to change something in the budget, actually this is the place and the time to do that. And it would be in the form of a simple motion to amend the capital improvement project, or the capital improvement plan to change some numbers or accelerate some spending in the plan, and you could propose it, and if you get a second, then it can be voted on, and if 3 members agree, then the capital improvement plan would be modified, and then you would get to vote on that modified plan. So there is a procedure here for handling that.
Thanks, Ken. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
I can't make an amendment, but the one I would make is to move forward the plan to improve the town hall air conditioning system tonight. This would be
I
my
tried that
plan.
too.
I don't have a vote.
Well, as you mentioned, we've had extensive discussion within the board, and each of the board members have analyzed, I know as far as the...
And I appreciate that all 4 of you shared your feedback
But I
on it.
agree with Chris, and
I've
that's,
discussed it with each, I've discussed or attempted to discuss with each one of you. And
I've been
and
pleased with the results, and that the changes that I had suggested are largely were accommodated, and those that where we disagreed, we were able to work through the changes. And I think this reflects what's feasible for us in this financial environment. I can't have everything I want, nor what Commissioner would like to see in terms of trucks. And we've got some old trucks out there, but they're still hanging in there, and he's got great staff maintaining them. But We can't have everything and still stay under that tax cap. 0.6% increase permitted when we've got far more than that in increased expenses. So I think this appropriately reflects what the town
Well,
can live with. And
We're up against it.
as I said when I started, is that I will vote for it. I did recognize when I read all of your comments, all 4 of yours, that you were all okay with it, with tweaks here and there. So, you know, it would either be 4 to 1 or, you know, so.
Although, what I wanted to point out too is that we really do have a collaborative working relationship with our department heads. And the department heads did participate in our 2 very extensive
sure did.
capital improvement plan meetings.
Yeah.
And they understand the wall that we're up against too, with the financial parameters imposed on us by the state. And we're able
And by
to
our
work-
taxpayers.
Sure. And they were able to at least help us prioritize what we should, what can be put off until 2018 and what really, really needs to be done next year. In a perfect world, we could fund everything, but unfortunately, we're not in a perfect world. And it's also a fluid document too, because we're still waiting on numbers from the state as far as our retirement contributions. We're still waiting on numbers from MVP as far as what our health insurance premiums are going to be going up. So, hey, maybe we'll get a pleasant surprise.
And all that will be factored in, including all of these capital expense items as we go through the budget, as we hold 2 public hearings.
Yeah.
And I do want to acknowledge, by the way, because the CIP is the product of a lot of people's hard work, Suzanne Saso, who is our finance director and has put in yeoman's effort, as you always do, Suzanne, this year adding some responsibilities, and you're working, generating this CIP, which is, as you pointed out, a very important planning document for us as we look forward in our financial future. But also the community volunteers who make up our budget review task force, who also weighed in. It starts with department heads prioritizing and scheduling out into different years when they believe that items should be replaced or new items purchased. They prioritize them each year. The budget review task force reviews these items. They prioritize them. Their priorities as community residents aren't necessarily the same as the department, but they've had the opportunity again to speak with senior staff on these priorities, and their efforts are very important. So all of that is taken into account as we balance providing the highest quality level of service, which I believe we do, with doing so in a fiscally responsible way.
Yes. Yep.
Further comments on the CIP? We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter is to set the first and second public hearing for October 13th, 2016, and October 26th, 2016, respectively, to consider adoption of proposed supervisors' 2017 preliminary operating and capital improvement budgets. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And again, as we've been discussing, these are really the final steps in public input, but it is a journey of public input. But these 2 nights, we will have the opportunity here to hear from you about what you believe our priorities should be in terms of spending as well as service providing. And at the end of the second public hearing, state law requires 1, we do 2, but at the end of that second public hearing, the town board will listen to your input and adopt a budget for 2017.
Just a quick question on that. Since there's only 13 days between the 2 public hearings, I'm assuming that one of our meetings will be on a Thursday to accommodate the High Holy Days?
13.
The 13th is, thanks, good catch, you're right.
I hesitated when I saw
Yeah.
13th and 26th. I said, wait, that's not 14.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
And then the next matter is to set the first and second public hearing for October 13th, 2016, and October 26th, 2016 respectively, to consider adoption of proposed 2017 assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this public hearing, and we always, in a sense, lump them together because these are two related public hearings, but this relates to special district charges and similar charges that are assessed on properties separate from the general tax levy to cover specific improvements and operations. So we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is authorize official application to the New York State Comptroller's Office to support the formation of the Susquehanna Road, Northumberland Road Drainage District. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this will, this submission will comply with the law and provide for comptroller review of the establishment of that district. Ken?
And when the comptroller approves it and sends that back to us, we will have one more action to take, which is to order the actual formation of the district in compliance with the comptroller's permission to do so.
Thank you. And I do want to thank, we have communication from Chad Roscoe, junior engineer in the DPW department. I want to thank Chad for his work on putting together this application. We have a motion and a second.
Supervisor, switch to show the public. It's not just like a two-page application, like I mean, it literally comes in a binder. There's so much, I mean, it's a voluminous document.
Good visual. Thanks, Dan. Motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute agreements with 2 veterinarians and 2 veterinary technicians to provide veterinary-related services to be administered at the annual Town of Brighton Rabies Clinic to be held October 8, 2016. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town before us.
Second.
I have a question. Who are the veterinarians and who?
At this time, I don't know. I know they go through the animal hospital where we have the contract, and usually, once we approve that the town will provide, then they provide the,
Oh, okay.
I think we have to do this first and then,
Right.
and the other.
And we don't discriminate between Brighton dogs, city dogs, Pittsburgh dogs, all of
It's
them.
an east side regional type thing, and we tend to draw a large crowd, not just Brighton crowd.
And it's for the safety of the entire community, but also helps our community in
Where is
the
it done?
spread of rabies.
Highway Department?
Rush. Yeah, I started attending this last year as my capacity as licensing dogs, just to get a feel for things. And I mean, these are held throughout the county at different points of the year, so they're depending on when people's licenses or vaccinations are up, they may be taking their animals to ones in Greece or Hilton or somewhere else, depending on what time of year, because the county health department moves them around. Ours is the last one of the year, so we get people from Hilton, Wayne County. I mean, last year there were people from far and wide.
Well, thank you, Mark, for coordinating this every year.
I can't take credit, it's the animal control.
Animal control, but all within your ambit.
Review.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to authorize permanent appointment on a probationary basis of Ms. Emily Kelsey as the Senior Citizens Program Specialist in the Recreation Department. I move that we adopt the resolution before us prepared by the attorney for the town.
Second.
These are those happy occasions. Emily has been working for the town on a provisional basis pending a successfully taking and scoring high on the civil service exam, and she did both, and we're very pleased. I know the seniors are going to be very pleased because, you know, we knew it was going to be hard. Transitioning, Nancy had worked with our seniors for many, many years, and Emily came on board and really hit the ground running. She had experience working at what was then the Gables, and so knows the folks over there and has built the relationships between our senior program and the Gables, but she just does a wonderful job, and I'm pleased that having successfully taken the exam, we can now change her status from provisional to permanent on a probationary basis. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jim?
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Metro Group, Inc. to provide necessary registration, testing, inspection, and certification for a public safety wing cooling tower. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Tim, do you want to talk briefly about why we're doing this?
Certainly, Bill. In the course of the new project, and as we were reviewing our, if you want to call it our procedures, we saw the need, and town engineer Mike Guyon, Mike was very astute in this, that we need to provide these services because of the Legionnaire's disease that broke out, well, quite a few number of years ago, but obviously they determined what the cause was, and by entering into this agreement, we take care of the cooling tower and the maintenance, and thereby we're not only in compliance, but it's also a works safety issue from a health and well-being standpoint for everyone in the public safety wing. So it was a good pickup and something that we felt we really didn't have any choice in doing because it was the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim. Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to approve various budget transfers and appropriations. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
Discussion.
Discussion?
That's another reason why I backed off a bit. It's because this happens a lot, and it helps to get some things approved that I wanted to get approved earlier.
Okay. Any further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to adopt a negative declaration and declare the town as lead agency under the State of New York Environmental Quality Review Act, or SEQR, for the Winter Farmers Market barn renovation project. I move that we adopt the resolution prepared by the attorney for the town before us.
Second?
We have, over the last several years, received 3 grants, most recently announced a couple months ago by Assembly Majority Leader Joe Morelli. Those grants total $900,000, yes. We have prepared plans, some preliminary work with the first of those grants, and we do need to conduct our SEQR review of this project, and that's the action that we're going to be taking tonight. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. And Jim?
Last item is to approval to adopt a standard workday and reporting resolution for newly elected and appointed officials used for retirement benefit calculations. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And newly elected or re-elected, as this one relates to officials that have served in office, have recorded before, but were re-elected last year, and this is part of the retirement system reporting cycle.
Suzanne, how often do these have to be in? Is it every year or every,
After a new term.
just,
So anybody elected or appointed who do not participate in the town's time tracking system, like a timesheet, and are members of the New York State retirement system have to complete the
thought-
log. We have to do this resolution.
I thought you had said in the past that we were supposed to hand something in every year.
No.
Not for this.
No, in fact, you can recertify those logs up to 8 years if you choose to do so, but you can always redo your log at any point in time, and they're 90-day logs. But if you redo the log, then we got to do another resolution.
Another resolution, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, just a couple of things. First, we've had 5 Sunset Concert Series concerts so far, and knock on wood, all 5 of them have been held outdoors. We haven't had any rain this summer. But that series is a great series of music of various different types. Last night, Dave McGrath, who's a wonderful local singer-songwriter and has been around for a long time, did a variety of some of his own compositions, but songs by just a whole variety of people, John Prine, Neil Young, just really an enjoyable evening of music, and even though it was kind of warm, there was a breeze and it felt pretty good. We had Noble Vibes, a local reggae band. In fact, several of their members live in Brighton, and they've been known to practice right over across the street on Roby Drive. And they're a great band, and in fact are the most popular band we've ever had in all of the years of these Sunset Serenade concerts. We had about 375 people out there this summer. We have one more concert in the show, in the series, this coming Tuesday night. And so I want to encourage everybody to come out, 6:30. We'll have some great local country entertainment. And it's been a fun program and nice way to spend Tuesday nights in the summer. I also want to just talk briefly, Monday night, one of the many, I'm out on the Brickyard Trail, but a local, well-known group, Conkey Cruisers, came and rode the Brickyard Trail Monday night. Conkey Cruisers is a group founded by Teresa Bowick. Teresa is a registered nurse who actually works at the group home right here down the street on Elmwood Avenue, our newest group home. I met Teresa when that group home was being proposed, and when Conkey Cruisers are a bicycle-based lifestyle organization that really works with kids and adults in terms of healthy living, weight loss, and just fun. And so Teresa brought members of Conkey Cruisers, nearly 100 people, out to the Brickyard Trail. Sandy Frankel was with them and rode her bike with them. I couldn't get there until a little later because I was at another event that I'll talk about in just a moment, but was able to join them afterwards as they were sort of picnicking at the pavilion there. But it's just indicative of all of the people that are using and enjoying our Brickyard Trail, and it's in less than 2 months become really the must-see, must-do attraction in Brighton. I met, again, someone today who was out on the trail for the first time and was just blown away when he got out to the wetland area. Had no idea that we have the largest urban wetland right there along this trail. So that was a fun night, and thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Conkey Cruisers, for coming out and enjoying our newest trail, and look forward to having you do it again. The other meeting I was at that night was I was part of a panel at County Clerk Adam Bellows' vacant property task force. The group met at the Irondequoit Public Library, the new Irondequoit Public Library, which is a beautiful, beautiful new building. And the county clerk and Empire Justice Center have collaborated on this task force, with the goal being to reduce, prevent foreclosures and vacancies of properties, to find ways to facilitate the process when, unfortunately, properties do become vacant, particularly due to foreclosure. So we had the meeting, and also, by the way, to work with municipalities like us. One of the concerns we hear most in the property maintenance area are with respect to properties that have become vacant. And as we say, and it's true, and what was there on the table the other night, properties become vacant, go into foreclosure or otherwise for so many reasons. They're often indicative of poverty that is affecting not just the city, but all of us suburban communities as well. They can reflect divorce, they can reflect health issues by an owner, simply aging out. But whatever the cause, what we know is that vacant houses have a negative impact on the community. And so this task force was set up by County Clerk Adam Bello, involved the Empire Justice Center, which is the primary legal services group that works with people in the community that are going through foreclosure. So it was an opportunity for people to share the impacts that vacant properties have had on their neighborhoods or on themselves. And so I appreciate the opportunity to serve on that task force. And the goal, among other things, is to come up with some best practices for municipalities as to how to deal with vacant properties, as well as to find ways to make sure that communities and the individuals living in these properties are hopefully have an opportunity to keep them occupied, avoid their becoming a blight on the neighborhood. So there was a Facebook Live presentation 2 weeks ago. There was this past Monday's session at the Irondequoit Public Library, and this coming Monday night at 6 o'clock, there will be a third panel session down in City Hall, downtown, in City Council chambers. So anybody interested in the vacant property situation, I encourage you to take part in that panel discussion. That's all I have tonight. Matters of the town clerk.
I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Matters of the town attorney to the town.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Matters of the town board. I do want to thank our cable and video crews for getting our meeting out to the public. Thank you for the work you do. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember Novros?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. I don't expect that we'll be coming back into open session afterwards, so thank you, those of you that were here tonight. Look forward to seeing you again on August 24th. Have a great evening.